good evening, everybody. Today we are going to continue with our lesson for value ethics and value and ethics value and ethics in management. Okay, so today, if you recall, we have learned about last week we have learned about the ethical leadership. Okay, so we have learned about ethical leadership, and then I said to you that I didn't want to touch about ethical decision making yet, because today we are going to learn about it. So I have uploaded one new reading material, which I'm going to discuss in this class as well, but you can read it as well. All right, so let's get into it. Today we are going to talk about the ethical issue in decision making. So I think that we have been talking about ethical issue previously from the first class, and that it's very important for leaders, for managers to be ethical at all time. And then ethical issue and decision making are the heart of many challenges faced in both personal and professional context. I'm sorry, kejap eh. Okay. And then I believe that each and every day we use the same link. I'm not sure. SKC, can you reply? Miss Nadia ke? Miss Nadia, are we going to use the same link? Then I will update. Okay, I'm not sure. It should be good. Okay, so we do face ethical challenges when we are at work. All right, and then when we are trying to make decision, there must be some ethical dilemmas that we face in choosing the best decision whenever that the problem arises. Okay, but we have to make sure when we talk about making decision in organizational context, we have to go back to the rules and regulation first, and then after that, barulah if this is related to our own, like apa orang panggil tu, our own moral judgment, or it's within our own ethical principle, then of course we have to take action based on the best ethical practices. Okay. So ethical issue arise when the situation calls for to the question the principle of right and wrong that govern how we should behave. This issue often involve a conflict of values and influenced by cultural, societal, and personal factors. So here I'm talking about ethical issue that is not bukan tentang yang melanggar peraturan. Peraturan take aside. Peraturan you have no choice. Okay, when in organizational context, if dekat dalam workplace policy said that you cannot steal, so walaupun sekeping A4 paper you cannot steal. Okay. No matter for what purpose, still. If you are using it for work purpose, then it should be okay. But other than that, it's clear cut. There is no theft tolerated, and then any yang melanggar peraturan kat tempat kerja. That one is not ethical issue. That one is apa orang panggil tu memang organization punya rules, regulation and policy kan. So it's not about having a debate on the moral judgment. Okay. So for example, like in a healthcare setting, a doctor may face an ethical issue when deciding whether to continue aggressive treatment for a terminally ill patient who seems to be suffering. Okay, so this is, if they have a guideline on this, then they should go to guideline. All right, they should go to guideline. But when we talk about when we talk about choosing the best treatment, for example, choosing the best treatment ataupun you want to diagnose, so and then to take which treatment is suitable, for example, like this one, aggressive treatment for terminally ill patients. So you have to not only be ethical, but you have to calculate the risk as well. Right, and then how to mitigate this is you have to need to communicate lah, need to tell the next of kin ataupun waris about the risk, about the consequences, about what are the possible outcome, and then you have to ask as well the patient. Okay, but let's say if the patient is not conscious, then you, this is way beyond our this is beyond apa orang panggil our cost. But I'm sure that we can, it's a common sense to think about it. You have to talk with the next of kin, you have to talk with the family members, okay, before taking any actions, right? When we talk about the healthcare setting, kan, me myself ada pernah experience this kind of experience when dealing with doctors, when dealing with medical expert. So it's about when you are dealing with, I'm talking about ethical, ethical in ethical context. So when you are dealing with older patient, and then they don't understand, they don't understand all this term, all this jargon that we are using in hospital. If you're talking to maybe medic student, a medical student, if you're talking about to more exposed individual, then it's okay to use all this jargon. Okay, but when you talk with older people, it's not suitable for you to use all these jargons, right? And then you have to be really, really, really patient. All right. I have experienced this with my family, right, with my dad. You know how our parents like to use traditional medicine, right? So they will argue when doctors say that you cannot use this, you cannot because this contains harmful material, this content is blah blah blah. And then our parents said that, oh, but my friends use this and it's okay. And so it's very difficult to educate them, right? Even though me as a doctor lagi rasa sana educate kan, because we don't have any any qualification ataupun any strong justification that we know about those things, about those medical, apa tu, about those medicine. But somebody dekat medical expert, you have to be really patient. And then your patient, they will argue, they will say that, but before this, when I consume this is okay. Why I cannot do this? Why I cannot do that? Right? But you have to be patient. So this is where your ethical, your ethics is being tested, whether to convey the right message or you don't have patience anymore. And then you said that, okay, pakcik, you can do whatever you want, you can eat whatever you want. So this is where your ethics is being apa tu, test lah. All right. So I'm going to go quite fast in ethical decision making. So today in today's class, I'm sorry, a little bit noisy. So in today's class, we are going to take a look at the ethical decision making framework, and then we are going to take a look at the theories, and then we are going to take a look at what are some regulations that we have to follow. We're going to take a look at a little bit about CSR. And lastly, we're going to talk about how to come up with how to measuring ethics at workplace. Okay. So I start with ini I think macam sama sahaja semuanya. Okay, I will start at this one. Okay, ethical reasoning and moral judgment. So if you see this, mana tadi I ada nampak? Patut. Okay, so we are going to talk about mana dia? Example of this study. Okay, betul lah this one. Abaikan dia hour 2. Okay. So we are going to take a look at the ethical decision making approach first. All right. The theories in this ethical decision making first. Okay. Okay. Right. Can see this slide. Kenapa I macam Okay, so let's take a look at what are ethical frameworks. Okay, ethical frameworks, it's useful for reasoning. Macam yang I cakap tadi kan, this is all about moral judgment. When we try to use a moral judgment or our own moral reasoning to come up with a solution, to come up with what should we do, and then what should be the principle or what should be the framework that guide our decision making. Okay, so it can be, this is the famous ones. All right, we have 5 ethical frameworks that is widely widely known, right? And then today I'm going to explain 5 of them to you. Okay, here this is very good. This is actually a slide I have been using this to teach ethics for up to since the first time I teach ethics, right? It's about it has videos. Okay, it has videos, and then you can, but the videos are quite long, so you boleh learn later. Okay, I have given you the link there, so you can save it somewhere, so you can watch everything. And then actually it's someone, a lecturer, if I'm not mistaken, a professor from university apa, Penn State. Okay, Penn State University. He explained about each and every approach ataupun framework. Okay, but I'm just going to provide you a summary of it. So firstly is virtue ethics, right? So when we talk about virtue ethics, this is what is moral that makes us the best person that we could be. If you remember that I told you about being a virtuous people, so virtuous people, they don't really have a problem in determining the right things to do because they are virtue by nature, right? They have this good habits. They don't need moral reasoning because they simply know what to do. Okay, a virtuous people is someone that is know what to do at the right place at the right time towards the right people, and then say the right thing as well and do the right thing. Sorry. Okay, so under virtue ethics, meaning that if you feel, okay, if we already know that when we want to make a decision, we need to make sure that to see from various perspectives. Is it okay? Fine. The first one, is it the right thing to say? Okay, this is the right thing to say. This is the right thing to do. But is it the right timing though? So virtue ethics means that you try to do everything, correctly, doing it right. Okay, it focuses on the character of the individual itself. They simply know what to do at that right time, right? And then this can develop. Definitely this one can be developed, okay, because this is a habit. So habit can be developed. You can this framework can really help us to make us apa orang panggil to help us to become the best of ourselves, okay, to have the best version of ourselves. And then we naturally are good, and then we practice moral, we not only kindness, but we also have a good way of thinking, the consequences if we do this, the consequences if we do that, right? And then definitely for virtue ethics, it's people with honesty, integrity, and so on. Okay. So the next one is deontology. So deontology is what is moral, what follows from absolute moral duties. So this is, there is no compromise. It's you stick with what's your duty, right? This is actually from Immanuel Kant. It's a philosopher, so he developed this. It's about following your duty. It's following what is there stated. If you are in this, if you holding such positions, so you need to follow everything about it. right? There is no compromise regardless of the consequences. Okay, so I think from the picture you can see here, for example, like military, right? Police, I think that is several examples like, and so um it's about you have to do your duty, even the consequence is not in favor of a lot of people ataupun a favor to you, right? You are bounded to your duty. There are certain moral principles that you have to adhere to. Okay. So for example, like deontologists, for people who do practice deontology, I believe that I give you one example. Um, I don't care what kind of lie that you give to me. Lie is a lie, right? Tak ada istilah tipu sunat. Tak ada istilah apa dalam bahasa Inggeris tu. Is it white lie apa tu kan? So there is no tipu sunat, so you have to be honest. Lying is lying, always wrong. Even though that you know that we lie for the but, let's say like I'm sorry lah, my my example. I just want you to get the point. Okay, my example is not organizational context, but for example, if you ask your friends, do I look fat? Okay, so you don't want your friends' moods to ruin, and then you say that no, you're not fat, but you are lying. Okay, for example. So under deontology, you don't do that. You tak kisah pasal the consequences about your friend's mood ke apa ke. So lying is always wrong. Okay, even though that lying can lead to much better outcome. That is just one example lah. Okay. And then next is utilitarianism. Okay, so this one is whatever that you do is to generate the best outcome for a lot of people. Okay, generate the best outcome for the largest number of people. So you have to choose. If you encounter any ethical dilemmas and then you have to make a choice, you have to choose. So you choose what's the best for many people. Okay, for example, if this is really helps for you to understand government policy. Okay, government policy. Ada sesiapa dekat sini yang haven't take vaccination ke? Anyone active anti-vaccine ke? Tak ada kan? Okay, so vaccination, for example, one of the policy. You might be angry with the government's restrict. Ni dulu lah government restrict. You cannot dine in if you don't take vaccination yet. If you don't complete your vaccination dose, you cannot travel. You cannot do this. You cannot do that, right? But the reason that they do this because they want to make sure that other people is being protected by being from being infected. Okay, so that is the reason why they implement such policy. So another policy, for example, like sorry. Sorry. So another example, if government impose a lot of taxes to business in order untuk increase the national revenue, for example, okay? Because they believe that this national revenue will help people to provide infrastructure later, to provide education, to provide this and that. Okay, but of course, businesses they would not be happy because they have to to be impose such tax, to impose such any kind of policy. And so that is utilitarianism, when an action is being taken is for the sake of a lot of people. Okay, when encounter ethical dilemma ataupun decision making that requires you to choose. Next is right-based ethic. So this one is easy. This is based on everyone's right. So under Hobbes, okay, this is actually introduced by Hobbes. It says that everybody have human rights. Everyone have their own rights. Okay, so under right-based ethics, meaning that everyone should take action or make decision is based on what is right, what is right to support this everyone right. Okay, so for example, if you have freedom of speech. Okay, so let's say if we have a right of freedom of speech. Okay, and then it's your right to say what you want, but if let's say someone else violates your rights, meaning that they like what's happening now, right? Um, like what's happening in the social media now. When we support, we post a lot of stories, tweets, posts about Palestine, and then the views, okay, people's views are being decreased ataupun it has been blocked by a certain social media. So itu kind of like violates freedom of speech ataupun violates what we want to say, right? What we want to support. And then they there are some words that they cannot say during live, or else it will be banned. So this is like a restriction of human rights, for example, like that. So this is a little bit focusing on human rights lah. Okay, everyone's right, not just human rights, everyone right. And then next is about care-based ethics. So what is moral is that which promotes healthy relationship and well-being of individual and their interdependence. Okay, so under care-based ethics, so this is sometimes it is called as ethics of care ethics. Okay, ethics of care ataupun care ethics. You can see that this is to build connection to others. This is to build interpersonal relationship, and then the care that we give to one another. So it suggests that morality arises from when we try to nurture relationship with others, and then this is more like interaction lah, okay, more interaction to the needs of individual. So being moral meaning that you care about others and then you try to attend to their needs. Okay, it can be as caring for a sick relatives, sick friends. Okay, it's a moral obligation because it can improve interpersonal relationship between that people. So for example, if I want to give examples, so care-based ethics, so I will give example like in my profession. Okay, so as a teacher, okay, as a teacher, I sangat-sangat apa orang panggil tu controversy if I say this. Okay, so as a teacher, I must, what my job is, provide you with a lesson, and then I mark your answer carefully, and then I have to attend other duties as academics. That's it. Okay, and then if let's say, okay, if let's say, actually it just happened. It just happened semalam hari apa isnin? Yeah, it just happened on Sunday. Okay, so we have deadlines, correct? Any work lah kita ada deadlines. So does my assignment. So ada deadline. Lepas tu, let's say if you miss the deadline. So my job is to make sure that I give the assessment kan. I give assessment and then I will mark. And then I give the assessment based on the deadline. But someone texted me and said that, okay, Miss, I have been sick this whole past few weeks, and then I couldn't do your midterm. So if you can, then can you please reopen it again? Okay. So yang ni dah bukan if I'm following yang tadi deontological lo, this is my duty, right? So no is no. No means no. I dah put that deadline dekat situ, then that's it. Okay, so if I want to use deontology framework as my decision making, but let's say if I use care-based ethics, I should feel, right? I should feel empathy. I should feel apa tu? It's very empathy. The student is sick, and then I should be concerned about their life beyond the academic life. And then I should be concerned about if they miss 20%. So it will impact their results after that and so on. So being a morally ataupun care-based ethics using that framework, then I'm going to take relevant actions lah to these students. Okay, so itu contoh nak membezakan antara care-based ethics dengan deontology. Okay, so next, bagi peluang, betul, okay?
Miss, apa maksud botol susu tu?
Maksud apa?
Botol susu tu?
Botol susu, care for others, care for others. If you watch this video, you have to watch this video because kat sini basic capabilities kan. Nanti dia akan explain lah. This is just a picture. Because in care ethics, it's about being concerned, being empathy, being attentive to what other people need, and then try to apa tu orang panggil tu, compromise, right, to provide. Ya Allah, itu kucing-kucing aku ni kenapa ya? Provide as much as care that you can. Okay. Okay, next is kita dah belajar tentang this one. Okay, ethical decision making models. So there are two famous ataupun well-known model. Okay, another thing, this one, okay, kind of ethical theories you can read. I don't think I sempat nak explain everything here tonight. So this one you can read about but I just bagi tahu first lah. Okay, consequentialist theories. This one is relevant with the utilitarianism, where you focus more on the consequences, right? Bukan human rights ke apa ke, you focus more on the consequences that when you want to do something, when you want to make any decision, you focus on the best consequences that you can get. Okay, so ada direct consequence and then indirect consequentialism. This one you can read the rest of it. Okay. And then for Kantian theories just now, this one is for the deontology, about apa orang panggil tu, the following the rules, following the responsibility that you have, and so on. Okay. Okay, next, let's take a look at the decision-making model. Ada dua decision-making model yang very famous, yang well used. The first one is what we call as the plus ethical decision-making model. Okay, the plus ethical decision-making model, actually this is an acronym for the steps. Okay, it got 7 steps to ethical decision-making, and then you have to consult these plus pillars where you ask questions. You ask question about, before you make any decision, so you ask question, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And so on. Okay, so we are going to take a look at don't disturb me. Okay, so the 7th step here is from step 1, define the problem. Step 2, seek out the relevant assistance, guidance, and support. Step 3, identify alternative. Then you evaluate it, make the decision, implement, and then you evaluate the decision using the plus filters as well. Okay, so the first one ialah to define the problem. Okay, so this is the very significant. This is very imperative for you to determine why decision is called, and then you have to identify the desired outcomes as well. Okay, so consider this example. The tenant at the older office building are complaining that their employees are getting angry and frustrated because there is always a long delay getting an elevator to the lobby at rush hour. Many possible solutions exist and all predicated on particular understanding the problem. Okay, so these are the possible solution lah. Flexible hours. So all tenants employee are not at elevators at the same time, and then faster elevators. So each elevator can carry more people in a given time, but definitely you have to elevator kita panggil apa? You have to install new elevators lah, okay. And then make a bigger one. So this one is quite similar. You have to install a new elevator. And then elevator banks, so that elevator only stops at certain floor, increasing efficiency. Better elevator, these are all the solutions, okay? So I do have this problem before this because we only have 1, 2, 3. If I'm not mistaken, we only have 3 elevators in my previous campus. And then it will be a problem, and our apa nama itu? Exam hall. Exam hall, instead of selalunya kalau exam hall ke dewan ke, kita dekat bawah kan, if you recall being in school. So our hall is apa tu, dekat tingkat bawah. But my previous campus, exam hall 2, exam hall dekat tingkat paling atas. So office, classroom, and then okay, exam hall. So what happened during exam week? Okay, during exam week memang very packed. Alright, and then students ramai kan to go there. It's very packed. One time you boleh pergi paling banyak pun berapa, dalam 15 orang, 20 orang sahaja kan. So, but what they did is they come up with this. Okay, elevator banks. And so that each elevator, they use one elevator just to go up and down to the same floor. 2, if I'm not mistaken, 2. Okay, so they keep like one elevator for other purpose, lecturer ke, other student ke. But if you are going to exam hall, so you straight away take these 2 elevators, and then it will tak ada stop lah. There is no stop. So and then kind of like solve the problem. Okay. And then step 2, seek out relevant assistance, guidance, and support. So once you have identified what are the possible solutions that you have, right, ataupun you have identified the problem, and then you have identified that some of the solution, and then from that solution you have identified as well what are the consequences that you have, that you should have. And then after that, in order for you to understand more about the problems, to understand more about the outcome, and then to help you to choose, you have to seek out relevant assistance, guidance, and support. Okay, and then step 3, once you have that, once you have a lot of information on the solutions that you have, you identify available alternative solutions to the problem. So you have to be open and new and better, be open to new and better alternative. You should consider as many solutions as possible, and then after that you evaluate. Okay, they identify alternative. Sorry. Okay, next is you must, okay, during this stage you must be careful to differentiate between what you know for a fact and what you believe might be a case. That's why it's very important for you to collect all the information. If it's something that you can do a testing, pilot testing, then you can do that first to collect more information to see how it's running, okay, for every alternative. Because the thing that we believe, sometimes it's not the case, right? It's not the case. We believe that it might work, but at the end, or on the other hand, it doesn't work. Okay, so once you have once you have evaluated all the alternatives, then you have to make decision and choose. You have to implement, and lastly evaluate the decision. So throughout this, if you see here, right, ada plus filter, plus filter, plus filter. So when you want to define the problem, when you want to evaluate the alternative and evaluate the decision, ask yourself, okay, I'm talking about ethical, kan? So ask yourself about this. Ask yourself about plus. Okay, P for policy, L legal, U universal, and S itself. Okay, so you ask question. First one is policy. Is it consistent with my organization policy, procedure, and guidelines? So any kind of alternative that you want, any kind of outcome that you want to, decision that you want to implement, take a look at whether it's aligned with the policy, procedure, and guidelines first or not. You have to ask those questions. And then you have to ask, is it acceptable under the applicable law and regulation? So is the alternative legal? Does it comply with law and regulation? Can, for example, if you want to cut costs in the workplace, you want to cut costs, but you want to reduce, for example, in salary ke, kan? But is it legal? Does it comply with law and regulation? If you want to reduce salary ataupun take back allowance ke, so what are the policy? Is it legal to do that? Because you cannot simply nak potong gaji, kan? Let's say if employee datang kerja lambat, so you say that if in your policy, if any employee comes late 3 times consecutive, so salary cut will be implemented. But is it legal though to do that? So you have to think about the legality ataupun whether it comply with the law and regulation. U is universal. Does it conform to the universal principle of value that my organization has adopted? Is it aligned with the objective, with the values that they practice or not? Okay, would it be acceptable if we implement this decision at workplace? Again, or it will create a chaos. It will create a lot of resistance. It will create a lot of disappointment ataupun grievance later. And lastly is self. Okay, so does it satisfy my personal definition of right, good, and fair? So does it align with your own moral judgment lah, kan? Whether it's okay to implement those. So this is one of the framework, one of the model yang mana kita gunakan class to ask more question about our decision making throughout this time. Another one is quite similar. This one is by the Markula framework of ethical decision making. It's quite similar lah. You can see that the steps here ada this one sama macam yang kita dah belajar tadi, kan? Cuma ada pertambahan sedikit lah. The rights land we have then that justice is about equal treatment, utilitarianism, the common good lands, the virtue, the characteristics, basically kita dah belajar tadi. Okay. And then the framework of ethical decision making lebih kurang sama, kan? Identify the ethical issue and then get the fact. What are the relevant? What are facts that are not known? And then who are actually holding an important stake in the outcome? Then you have to call them to do whatever that you have learned before this stakeholder engagement. You have to ask, and then you have to evaluate the impact to all those stakeholders, relevant stakeholders. Evaluate, choose options, actually, and test it. So this is what I said just now. If you can test it, then you can do like in a small scale first. You can test, and then you can bring the outcome that you have, and then you evaluate first before implementing in the big scale. Okay. Okay. So here, I have uploaded this apa nama article in your UROX, okay, because I am attracted to these steps in decision making here. Okay, so you can see, you can relate back whatever that we have learned just now. So these are the steps that can be taken before we can make any decision. Say, for example, like clearly define the issue, identify all relevant individuals like stakeholders lah. Okay, lepas tu, this is very important as well, supporting documentation and follow up on second-hand information to confirm that there is an actual ethical concern, and then select the action that most likely resolve the specific ethical concern and reduce the likelihood of similar issue arising in the future. So this is another thing that is important, because to make decision that can lead to apa orang panggil, kita kan kat dalam management kita ada 3 plan, kan? Plan. Okay, we have several plans. We have a lot of plans, but we have we have several plans yang mana dipanggil sebagai ada single use plan and then standing plan, and so we don't want, so for example, if in this kind of situation where a problem arises and then you think that it might rise again, so you don't want to just implement a single use plan, right? You might want to use more than that. For example, like introducing a policy on this, introducing a more comprehensive plan, right, that can be used over and over again. Okay. Next, CSR. Oh, hari ni we go quite fast, eh? Baru pukul 9:10, but I have finished the two apa orang panggil tu, two subtopic. Have you guys seen this before? The CSR pyramid. Let me make it bigger. Pernah tengok tak? This ada 4-level CSR pyramid. This is not the same. This is not ESG. It's ESG is different. Have you seen this before?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
All right. So this is not similar dengan ESG. Okay, ESG it's about where we take a look at three different from perspective three elements. Okay, this one CSR pyramid maksudnya ialah it's a responsibility of organization. Okay, a responsibility of organization. This pyramid can help to guide organization to meet its one of the thing ialah you can see that there are two elements here in ESG that here in the CSR punya apa itu pyramid lah. Okay, so the first one you can see at the bottom here is economic. Okay, economic, so that is the first level. And then it goes to legal, and then ethical and philanthropic. So what does it mean actually? So let's take, I have given you a link over that so you can refer to it. Okay. So this is actually a pyramid, a framework guiding how and why an organization should meet its social responsibility. This is a Carroll pyramid. Kita panggil sebagai Carroll pyramid of CSR. CSR Carroll pyramid. Developed by Professor R.G.B. Carroll, who adapted work from a year 1950. The CSR pyramid is based on 4 levels: economic, legal, ethical, and philanthropic. So the first one, let's define dulu CSR tu apa. Okay, CSR refer to corporate social responsibility. It's it represents the level of responsibility and ethical behavior that corporation can adopt, and then it helps organization to understand their social and environmental obligation to various stakeholders. Okay, so the key elements in this pyramid is the economic responsibility, legal responsibility, ethical responsibility, and philanthropic responsibility. So when we talk about economic responsibility, meaning that it is a foundational level, every organization should be profitable, to generate profit, and then provide returns to their shareholders, and also they're responsible to be long-term profitability, run in long-term because they have a lot of employee. They also have to this one kan give the return to shareholders. So these are in terms of economic responsibility. Next, the second responsibility is corporation must comply with any laws and regulation governing their operations. So it depends on which industry you are in, what kind of business that you are in. So any laws and regulation that you must follow, you must follow. Okay, so that one is wajib, compulsory, no compromise. Okay, and next one, okay, after you have the fundamental is generate profit, and then the second one is you must to follow all the legal requirement and so on. Next level is about ethical responsibility. Okay, how to differentiate between legal responsibility and ethical responsibility? I give you one example of hiring process. Okay, ataupun human resource punya practice. Legal responsibility meaning that when you hire an employee, you must give them minimum salary. Itu legal. If you don't do that, minimum salary kena ada their own annual annual leave, and then you must follow exactly what the Ministry of Human Resource yang ada 13 akta whatsoever tu kan, so you have to follow that. Okay, but ethical responsibility is you hire diverse, macam mana kita dah belajar kan, you hire diverse people from different background because you want to make sure in your organization it's fair, can anyone have opportunity to join your company, and then in terms of promotion, everyone have an equal opportunity to get promoted. That's ethical responsibility. So this is the third level where this is beyond legal requirement. Organizations should engage in ethical behavior and practice which often voluntary effort to benefit the society ataupun benefit the stakeholders. Kalau tadi legal responsibility, it's a compulsory. So lastly is this is the highest level where this is a totally voluntary contribution to outside your organization. This is what it means by philanthropic responsibility. Meaning that if you have, okay, from the way that I see this, once you have profitability and then you have cover, you have to, you dah jalankan tugas you kepada apa nama you punya employee, alright, you have done all those responsibility for your employee, you have given them the best workplace ever because you treat them with respect, you treat them with a lot of dignity, so that one is ethical responsibility. Then you go and you contribute more to society, for example, involved in any CSR programs, you give charitable donation, and then you give community, you involve in community, you build that, you give charity over here, you sponsor here and that, and then do a lot of programs. Okay, so that is philanthropic responsibility. Once you have filled everything, your responsibility in with your the economic responsibility, okay, you dah buat semua ni, barulah you can go for the philanthropic responsibility, right? It's very apa orang panggil it's bukan kata unethical, but it's very weird if you do this, okay, if you do philanthropic, but this is what happened. Okay, organization, they try to maintain a certain image, they try to maintain a certain identity, ataupun for marketing purpose, they do a lot of philanthropic responsibility, but actually their internal stakeholders, their employee are suffering. There is no incentive, there is no not salary is not being paid on time, their welfare is not being taken care of, okay, because for the organization, philanthropic responsibility is just as marketing activity, which is this is not ethical lah kan, you tak, in order for you to be ethical company, right, you must fulfill all this. Okay, you must make sure you take care of your employee in terms of the economic perspective, and then for don't break any law, and then must have good ethical environment at your workplace. Then you can do more by contribute to society. But let's say if you just contribute to society but you don't satisfy the ethical responsibility in your workplace, means that you don't feel all the pyramid lah. You are not an ethical company. Okay. So economic is the lowest level of the pyramid, since it is the responsibility that must be satisfied first, like I've mentioned to you. Without the ability to make profit, company cannot fund the other levels. Right? Some instant economic responsibility will facilitate others. Example, a company transitioning to a cheaper eco-friendly packaging potential satisfy an economic, legal, and ethical obligation at the same time. Right? And then legal. So this obligation are perhaps the most important, because we have to make sure that our business is conducted legally, We don't want any lawsuit coming in. We don't want to have apa orang panggil tu, a lot of problem in the future. So does it comply with employment tax? If any environmental regulation that we have to know about, okay, health, organizational health and safety. Lepas tu anti-competitive law ataupun antitrust law. Okay. Failing to abide the law can result in severe financial and reputational damage. And then for ethical, this is doing things right through fairness and harm avoidance, right? This is something that is this is not something that the company is obligated to incorporate, but demonstrate evidence of moral and ethical can influence consumer brand perceptions and also internal perception as well. Okay. And lastly is consumer expect companies that they do business with to give back to society. Right, these efforts are vital for companies who leave a large carbon footprint, consume natural resources. So here is where ESG is coming in. Okay, you akan nampak lah a lot of dekat sini. Okay, ethical, and then philanthropy, a lot of ESG is coming in, where you try to do more than just being profitable. You will being more than following rules and regulation. Okay. You started to be more involved in gender gender equality, having a good culture in your workplace. Okay. Like I've mentioned to you just now, CSR, it's not the same with ESG. CSR is a practical framework for a company to achieve socially responsible goals, but ESG criteria is the way to measure. So ESG, this is more like an accounting method to measuring sustainability because it involves a lot of reporting, financial reporting, and then and other things as well. So CSR is a framework, it's an activity to achieve the sustainability. All right, sustainability, this is more like a reporting, accounting method. Okay. For ESG, like I mentioned, we have three things. We have three criteria, three elements, which is the corporate governance criteria, the social criteria, and also the environmental criteria. Okay, so let's take a look at one example. Case study 1, Patagonia. Okay, Patagonia is an outdoor clothing company. It fulfills its economic responsibility by manufacturing and selling high-quality outdoor gear to consumers worldwide. This company focuses on profitability and financial sustainability while adhering to ethical business practices. All right, so under legal responsibility, they comply with all relevant law and regulation governing environmental protection, labor right, and product safety. So they also make sure that manufacturing process and supply chain operation meet legal standards. Ethical responsibility, okay, they particularly in environmental stewardship, they promote sustainable sourcing, fair labor practice. Speaking about sustainable, okay, let me just promote what I seen this morning. If you go to Europe, right? You can see here. Salah pula. Okay, so this is one of the activity ataupun one of the initiative, bukan activity, sorry. This is one of the initiative by Uniraza. I just received this morning, if I'm not mistaken. So we can support sustainability in several ways when it comes to computing resources, and then they put this in euros. These are some of the things that you can do, right? You can do to support the sustainability practice in our workplace ataupun in our organization, because you are one of the stakeholders as well. I tak payah baca lah kat sini kan, just take a look at it, right? This is very interesting. So it's a very clear communication that we are supporting this sustainability effort, and then you can do that too by practicing all this. Okay. Kita kena patah balik. And then for philanthropic responsibility, Okay, what they do is they engage in community initiative to address social and environmental issue. To one, dia ada program 1% for the Planet program. Patagonia donates 1% of its annual sales to grassroots environmental organization. The company also support environmental education, conservation efforts, and sustainable development project globally. A lot of Malaysian companies doing this as well. Right, you can see banyak sangat program. Okay, they implemented for one as their sustainability effort. They implement a lot of programs to save the environment, like providing funds to the National Reserve Forest. And then they also have a lot of small scale programs where they contribute trees, and then they take care of the mangroves. In Sabah Sarawak as well, we have a lot of other initiatives, okay, by Malaysian company, and this is very good to see this. Okay, next is we have finished about CSR. So just to get you familiar, ataupun I'm not going to tell you exactly what are the rules ataupun what are the regulations out there that imposed by the government, because different industry you have different one. Okay, I think it will help if you can write one regulation that you think is relevant to your current employment now. Okay, so for my example, for mine, one is education. For private institution, we have to adhere with MQA. So that is one of the regulations that I need to adhere to. Okay, so you guys can give your opinion. You can share with us one rules and regulation that is that governs your nature of work. Okay, you boleh tulis dekat chat here. And in this list, it's just general. Okay, I think it's very important. This one is for legal requirement, legal responsibility. So these are the 12 government business regulations that we need to know. Okay. Yes, BNM. What are the regulation? Kalau you ada like the exact act ke ataupun the policy ataupun regulation. Okay, for example, I have MQA accreditation punya audit ataupun apa kita panggil apa ya tu, MQA. We have accreditation, MQA accreditation. So that is for IPPS accreditation to make sure that it's compliance with the MQF. Keep on writing that. Nanti kita akan tengok, kita akan share sama-sama. Okay. So 12 government business regulation that we need to know is there are here ada 12. So taxes, some of the things, okay, it might not apply to your business, okay, because we have different kind of types of business kan. Kita ada corporation, kita ada sole proprietorship, kita ada partnership, and then we have cooperative and so on lah. So in terms of tax, different organization ataupun different kind of types of company, they are bounded to different kind of tax. Okay. So we do have income tax, we have estimated tax, self-employment, employment tax, excise tax. Here, depending on your industry, you may have to pay federal excise tax on a certain types of good or service. Okay, and then we have state tax. Some they might have from the local authority as well, tax that we have to pay. Okay, and then employment and labor regulation, we have to adhere with the minimum wage. This one is not Malaysia punya website. This is different. And then workplace health, OSHA. Okay, this one OSHA. And then workplace posters. For example, like US Department of Labor mandates that specific workplace posters must be displayed in the workplace and be easily visible to employees. We also have that, all right. And then health insurance, business with 50 or more employee required offer health insurance, and then for reporting fee. Workplace and anti-discrimination and harassment. Okay, antitrust regulation, this is about competition. So be careful with your price fixes. Okay, competing business cannot work together to set price. And then price discrimination as well, to change different price to different customer for the same product. Conspiring to allocate market to customers. So a lot of things that falls under antitrust regulation ataupun competition regulation lah. Advertising regulation, so this falls for company marketing. Marketing people need to be really aware of this. Okay, in terms of advertising, must not be misleading, must not using sensitive issue, or you are using, but now I tengok macam tak ada implementation kan, macam tak ada execution lah for this. A lot of advertising is merepek, okay, merepek, and then some is not appropriate for tontonan awam. Okay, low execution on this. Okay, advertising regulation. Lepas tu kan, fraudulent telemarketing ni pun berleluasa. We have a lot of this. Hari tu kan I received an email. Okay, it looks very suspicious about Maybank punya credit card kot ataupun loan. I can't remember. Tapi yang I peliknya, dia punya email, it's like not written by a professional, okay, not written by an employee, sebab it is ada macam they put highlights everywhere or something like that lah. I can't remember. So I feel like it's apa orang panggil tu, macam scam lah kan. So what I did is I pun hantar, I forward that to the fraud punya hotline, and then I just told that email, I just write in that email, this is something that you should see. If this comes from your worker or one of your employee, then it's fine. You may ignore my email, but if it's not, then you might need to take some actions lah. Lepas tu they reply, they say that thank you. Thank you for noticing us, and this is actually from one of our employees, blah blah blah. Lepas tu I macam fikir kan, you guys ni tak ada ke macam standardized email to write kan to customers, because it looks so ChatGPT generated, you know. So macam fraud. But it's okay lah. It's okay to know that okay, it's not fraud, kan, bagus lah. And it's very good as well for Maybank to take time and reply it back to me, kan, for customer trust lah, for customer trust. And then nampak macam hotline tu bekerja lah, instead of just for apa orang panggil, just wayang je dekat situ kan. So it's good, you know, dapat customer yang prihatin macam I ni, yang I will tell, okay, I will make sure anything suspicious ke apa ke, definitely will report it. Okay? But yeah, a lot of fraud telemarketing nowadays. And then email marketing, and then we have a Spam Act regulates marketing in the email. In terms of privacy, okay, businesses need to protect the privacy of their customers and employees, like database, okay, the healthcare, financial service, consumer privacy as well, personal information, credit reporting. If your business uses credit reports, you must disclose how and when details are used and collected. Children's privacy, so we do have an act on this, allow parents control over what information website can collect from their children. Licensing and permits, so it depends on the nature of your business. For example, if you running a liquor store, you need to apply for liquor license. Macam-macam lagi lah, okay? If you are running a restaurant, so make sure that you have a permit to run the restaurant, and then have to undergo all the procedure, okay, the cleanliness lah, hygiene, and then get the stamp yang A, B, whatsoever, okay? And then once you have the right license and permit to run your business, then you can do that. Copyright right, patent and trademarks. Okay, these are form of IP protection that protects your work, and then copyrights protect literary and artistic works. Okay, so make sure that you don't plagiarize other works. And for small businesses, it's very difficult for them. It's quite expensive as well and involve a lot of process for them to patent. Okay, tapi you boleh daftar kan? You boleh daftar the patent, the trademark and so on. For example, like especially the design, because nowadays we have cases where big businesses, they kind of plagiarize or apa tu ataupun duplicate, okay, arts design from small businesses, and that is very unethical. Okay, you are huge business, you should be able to generate more resources compared to the small businesses, right? So as a large business, you have more than you can hire more people to generate more ideas for designs. Okay, so I think it's very uncool to steal from the small company. Accounting and auditing, environmental regulations, securities and exchange commission. Okay, and then other ongoing filing requirements, for example, like GLC, PLC, you need to have an annual report, filing fees, article of amendment, and another thing is taxes. Okay, so these are the 12 among the government business regulation that we should know. Okay, so let's go to Pina's license. Oh, you are in entertainment industry. That's cool. Ada kerja kosong tak? Because I really like to help one of my friends. She's looking for a full-time job in the in entertainment industry. Is it finance? Yeah, and then Omara registration. Okay, so let's take a look at that to learn today. What should I Google for this? Omara registration. Oh, okay. Okay, this is an Office of Migration Agents Registration Authority. So this is to import foreign worker, right? Foreign worker. And then there are a lot of processes. And we have a lot of other cases as well, right? Frauds regarding this migration, then not using the right ataupun proper documentation. Okay. Mr. Cairo mentioned provide comprehensive onshore oil. Okay, so what is okay, so this include transmission. So is that, where do you get this? Maybe we can view over here. What do we call this? Like is it a have an act or specific regulation for this? All right. So do you have any question before we end our class? We have finished. We have concluded. We have reached the end of our class today. Do you have any questions that you want to ask? Oh, belum lah. Ada satu lagi. Not yet. Not yet. Belum habis lagi kelas. Sorry. Okay. My company. Oh, okay. Your company rules and regulation for casing item above. Okay. Sorry. False alarm. Kelas belum habis lagi. Okay, last. All right. Lastly, we have learned on the framework. We have learned about the decision-making model. And then we have learned about what are the things that we should take a look into, then regulation and so on. So, now we wanted to come up with how to measure again, because if you remember, the last step dekat dalam ethical decision making is to evaluate your decision. So must be to measure the ethical performance for our business. So here I have given you, this is important. Can you please save this link somewhere? Okay, so this is a sample ataupun some of the example to measure the ethical performance in our business. Okay. Okay, contohnya, let's say you wanted to take a look at your stakeholder satisfaction. So what can you do? How to measure? So you can measure using a customer feedback scores. Okay, I think you boleh klik dekat sini and then it will bring you to the metrics ataupun the numbering, the score, the survey and so on. These are just example to get you familiar of what we can do to measure. Okay, so in order for us to measure stakeholder satisfaction, we can track customer feedback scores or employee retention rates as indicator of ethical culture. And then in terms of transparency index, right? Also, you can come up with your own calculation, your own reporting, okay, to see how transparent in your company, a high transparency score, perhaps quantified by the frequency and the detail of public report. Okay, so these are the elements ataupun the criteria that you can use. Okay, frequency of reporting, detail of the public report, and then signals on open book policy if you have that. Compliance metrics. Okay, so for example, if you have a compliance program and then you make an audit, there must be some criteria. Okay, the number of the corrective actions taken. Compliance metric, I can give you one example. Macam mana I nak tulis? For example, kan compliance rate. Simple je calculation dia. Lambatnya internet saya. Ini contohnya. Compliance rate sama dengan how to see this. Number of areas passing audit divide by total number of audit and then times 100 lah. So this one is to get the compliance rate. Lepas tu, if let's say you want to take a look at tadi kan customer satisfaction, so apa tu satisfaction, any kind of satisfaction rate ke, perception rate ke, so it can be dengan number of positive feedback ataupun respon lah. Okay, response you divide by total number of survey yang you given dan times 100 itu untuk satisfaction rate. Lepas tu kalau nak tengok, let's say how frequent ataupun you want to take a look at the apa tu reporting rate kan, reporting rate reporting rate so lebih kurang sama lah. Okay, reporting incident lah, kita panggil sebagai incident reporting rate. Apa ni bawah? Ini sama dengan number of reported incidents. Can be lah, but this one maybe not so accurate because this one will be nampak macam too low lah kan. This one can be revised. The total number of maybe employee ataupun number of something, and then you Kalau time, okay, so total time to resolve, okay, and then you divide by the number of resolved incident, and then you time by 100. So these are some of the calculation that you can use to for compliance metrics, okay, but it depends on the more criteria that you use here in your calculation, so the more accurate it will be lah. Dan yang ni macam sangat basic. Kalau nak tengok compliance rate whatsoever tu kan, it's very basic, but you can do more. Social impact score, so you can do metrics such as community investment, environmental, blah, blah, blah. You can ask them to fill up a survey as well, and then as a feedback, and how we do have impact score ni, I have the framework for that. Okay, the social impact score, because this is actually being used a lot by government. Okay, by government when they want to implement any policy, so they do that social impact score first, to see the outcome lah, the possible outcome ataupun bukan possible outcome, the effectiveness of the outcome. And then ethical culture KPI, so you should have indicators, for example, like your internal apa, environment, okay, internal practices, and then for diversity, number of yang tadi tu kan, reporting, whether you have a platform for reporting or not, so to come out with a key performance indicator for ethical culture. This one ada dekat sini. Okay, so employee awareness of understanding, response to ethical violation, culture assessment, stakeholder trust, financial transparency, and so on lah. Okay, I have given you here. So please save this anywhere. It might be useful for your final exam. Okay, this it might be useful for you to generate ideas later for your final examination. If I ask you to write what are the metrics ke, ataupun what your suggestion to measure ethical decision making ke, so this would be your answers. Okay, if you are listening, then please raise up your hands. Can you raise up your hand, or I don't know, yeah. Send whatever response to me that to let me know that you are listening. Okay, thank you.
Ada.
Okay, so this is the link, so just keep it. Okay. All right, but and then this is another thing. I really like this document as well. Into a measurement framework for ethics and compliance program ataupun ENC program lah, by ECI, Ethics and Compliance Initiative. So if you scroll down here, okay, at the end, there are a lot of information. Okay, there are a lot of information previously kat atas ni, blah 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 blah. But this is what it gets interesting, where you can see in each principle what are the things that you can evaluate. All right, it gives you an idea. Let's say if you have your business, right? So you can sit down together with your team, and then you can identify if you have this one, okay, potential, what to measure in this part. You can sit down with your team, and then you ask all of this question. Okay, do we have a metrics for that? How do we measure that to make sure how to say, to take a look at the overall reporting ataupun the overall measure that you do in your punya ENC. Okay, question to consider, and so on lah. Okay, and then you can use potential source of information to get more information, government documents, and blah blah blah. So what to measure here? I think it's very interesting for us to learn about this ataupun for you to know here. Okay. The relevant policy and procedure in terms of principle number 2. Principle number 2 apa tadi? Risk management. Okay, so risk management, you can ask these questions. Okay, people trained to identify risks, and then where are the what information that you can, what are the sources that you can use for information. This is really interesting. You can keep it as well for your own practice, for your company, ataupun whenever that you're, let's say one day you are involved in setting up ataupun in giving ideas about how to become more ethical, how to be more compliant. So you might give this document, you might give this idea. Okay. All right. So that's it for our class today. Do you have any question?
Nanti yang ujung-ujung ni ke yang masuk exam ni?
Yang masuk exam? No, the this one, yang faster capital, yang
Okay.
this one, okay, because kat sini ada banyak idea, banyak contoh. So let's say if my question asks you, what are some of the measurement that you can choose or you can implement to measure ethical performance in your company? So you can choose any answer from here lah.
Okay, Miss. Thank you, Miss.
Okay. All right, so if there is no more question, then I'm going to see you guys same time next week. Thank you so much for coming tonight. Thank you. Have a great night. Bye.
Thank you, Miss.